many ways I got to sort of design and implement stuff from scratch, which is I think not customary for someone in my position.
Compared to different courses, computer science, this category is requiring a lot of time for us to debug.
One evening I think I sat down and sent out like
10 or 20
30 emails.
Hello， 各位小伙伴，大家好，我是郭郭，欢迎收看郭播客第2期。在这里和我听点不一样的。本期嘉宾呢，我请到的是来自印度孟买的小伙伴，他的研究生毕业于加州大学洛杉矶分校，现谷歌担任软件工程师。他从研究生第2学期开始就学费全免，并且呢，在甲骨文任职1年后不满足于现状，跳槽 Google。那么他当时究竟是为什么要做出这个决定呢？下面和我一起来看一下吧。Alright, so without further ado, how about we get started?
Perfect.
Cool, man. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time with me today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, so how about we start by introducing yourself first?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Parth. I'm a software engineer at Google.
Okay.
So, a bit of background about me. I'm originally from Bombay, India, also known as Mumbai. I did my undergrad in computer engineering from Bombay. And in 2018, I moved to the States to pursue my master's in computer science from UCLA.
Oh, nice.
And I've been working in the industry for about 3.5 years. My first job was at Oracle, and then last year in August, I switched over to Google. Yeah, I'm based out of San Jose. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, sounds like you are a senior engineer. Like you have so many experience in this area.
Not really. 3.5 years is not a long time, but yeah, I think
Yes.
that's sure.
So how the food? Like how do you like the food in Google? Like in different cafeterias?
Oh yeah, amazing. I think free food is something that none of us should be complaining about.
Yeah.
But in general, I think it's been a pretty great experience so far. I think I like the team that I'm working for, and
nice.
the Google culture is amazing.
Oh.
And like you said, the perks are obviously great too.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of
Yeah.
parts that people will maybe share about. Like people will invite their guests, their friends, families, and to the cafeterias and to have some free food like the salad or the shrimp.
Absolutely. That's very refreshing to see. Actually.
How's it going in Oracle?
I think my experience was pretty good.
Oh.
I think I was lucky enough to be working for a team which was sort of building a service from scratch.
Oh.
So in many ways, I got to sort of design and implement stuff from scratch, which is I think not customary for someone in my position.
True.
Someone who doesn't have any work experience in the past and is fresh out of college. So I think I was very lucky.
Oh.
And also I had an amazing mentor and a great manager.
Mm-hmm.
So really a supportive environment where I felt like I was able to learn a lot and grow a lot.
Oh, so sounds like your position impact is like level 5 or level 6, like you're building stuff from scratch and ship.
Like I said, I think not a lot of people would get to work on building a system from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has its own set of challenges. So it's very interesting and it's kind of exciting to sort of be in that position where you get to learn so much and implement stuff very quickly, and at the same time also understand how to design a system, right?
Got it. So So what kind of the experience or the lessons I learned since they have such a unique experience of building things from scratch?
In terms of lessons, this is not really a lesson, but I think the thing that works in your favor in many ways is that because you are building something from scratch, you don't need to worry about breaking anything, right? Because there's nothing new, right? You can move quickly, right? And you can actually get stuff done very quickly, which is a very fulfilling experience, right? Because if you are moving too slowly and, things are taking a lot of time, then it's, I think, easy for us to get frustrated and then be sort of, not very happy about the progress, right? But when you're building something from scratch, I think that is definitely something will make you happy. But at the same time, you also have to be careful about the design decisions that you take. Because sometimes if you are interested in getting something up and running, the main priority at that point is not to basically have a system which necessarily may scale well or, is robust to security threats, but rather to have a system which is there, right? Which is up and running, right? Because that is the main priority. But ultimately, at some point you'll have to bite the bullet and go back to the decisions that you've made in the past and maybe review them because it might not scale anymore.
True. So maybe refactor stuff.
I think so I felt like that is something that did happen to us as well. Like we ended up revisiting stuff that we had done in the past. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, I feel like one take I can learn from your experience is that sometimes maybe like design is more important than the implementations because like if say some people like just give you a task and you just work on that like without maybe thinking about like whether this is a good choice or not. But then just like you said that we need to maybe sometimes after the system scales, we need to like maybe go back and check for whether there's some like refactors we can make or some changes we can like replace in order to have those better systems. So I think this is actually a really good point. So speaking of which, what makes you like to feel like I have to like maybe change the maybe like job and need to maybe jump from one company to another company? Is that because maybe like you feel you want to jump out of your comfort zone, or you want maybe like learn new skills, you want to meet new people, or maybe like for the money or stuff like that?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So for me personally, I felt like I wasn't learning a lot. That's where I was at the later stages of my, you can say, tenure at Oracle, because I was pretty much maintaining the system, the application that I had written from scratch, right? So I knew it in and out. So, and then we had a lot of features that we were implementing. So it's not like we didn't have work, but then I didn't feel like I was learning and, it wasn't challenging anymore. And at the same time, I think one of the reasons, one of the contributing reasons was also my mentor and my manager. They had moved on to different teams. I think like my manager was still at Oracle, but my mentor had sort of switched out of Oracle. So I think that was another contributing factor for me taking this decision as well.
Get it. Yeah, I feel like manager or like the mentor you mentioned in the last question, that I feel like mentor is really important in terms of both they can give you like the technical guidance in terms of like how like which tech stack we should use, but also they can give you like maybe like some of the life experience in terms of like the career path development or stuff like that. So I heard like people sometimes they may, if their managers move to a different companies, they will follow them. So how you perceive like yourself, see in maybe like 3 years or 5 years or maybe like 10 years in terms of your career path, like how you perceive yourself? You want to maybe like stay in see the software engineer, or maybe you want to switch a different track and see like how things are going in that part?
Definitely want to stay as a software engineer for the next, I would say, 5-6 years. I feel like I have a lot to learn. I want to grow as a software engineer, and I at some point switch over to becoming a manager.
Nice.
But I also want to be hands-on. Like I don't want to be in a position where I don't know what's going on. Right? Like technically, I want to be aware of what's happening. Be pretty hands-on. But at the same time, I feel like I also want to understand this from a sort of a business side of things. Right? I think there is a lot at play here, and just being technically sound is not going to cut it, in my opinion. So that is one of the reasons which sort of makes me, transition or want to transition at some point towards the managerial side of the job.
True.
But I think that's not in the next 3-4 years, somewhere down the line.
Okay. Yeah, because asking this question is that I know like you from Gujarati, and there are a lot of businessmen that coming from the other places. So I was wondering maybe like you want to start your own business or startups, stuff like that to maybe work on that part.
My dad's a businessman.
Nice.
So it's in my blood. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, good to know. So like after we have talked about like the work, like one thing I feel like really interesting about your experience that you have graduated from the UCLA CS program, which I believe at that time is one of the most competitive program in the United States. So like how, like first of all, like how you feel like in the studying UCLA, like is that like something like exciting, or like what's the experience like?
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I love UCLA. Obviously there's a lot of bias because I went there. UCLA has an amazing campus. I don't know if you've been there, but it's definitely something that worth visiting if you are in LA.
Nice.
And I think the faculty there is pretty good. I think you'll have folks who are sort of pioneers in the field of computer science. So it's kind of surreal to be in the same classroom as them and them teaching you. That is not something that I had experienced before in my in my life.
Bachelor's?
So,
okay.
And in general, I think the culture there is pretty good. So yeah, it was a fun experience, and I'm definitely proud about the fact that I went to UCLA. Something
nice.
that's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and like I guess like people, when we talk about like the U.S. campus or like the studying in U.S., like one of the impression like people will have is that like studying in U.S. is really like expensive. Like so, how's like your tuition fees in UCLA? Is that expensive? I heard like maybe So for average, maybe like one term, some of American universities can cost like maybe 50K or 60K. How's your like tuition fees?
UCLA has a quarter system,
Oh.
and so a master's program is typically for 2 years. So we'll have 8 quarters, but obviously you won't be taking courses during the summer quarter. So you're there for 6 quarters.
Oh.
And if you decide to stay for the entire duration of the program, you have the option to graduate early, which is pretty cool. I graduated 2 quarters early, obviously, so that helped, right? But I think the quarterly fees is not too bad. It's 10K, about 10K. At
10K.
least that was the case when I was there. I don't know if there has been a change lately.
For one term.
For 1 quarter.
Oh,
yeah.
10K.
So
nice.
So typically, if you stay there for 6 quarters, then 60K tuition fees. Which is still, I mean, if you look at some of the other universities,
I would say that's really great.
Yeah, so it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of relatively easier to secure a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship because the batch size is limited, right? So there's less competition, and that increases your chances of getting like a TA-ship or an RA-ship. So that definitely helps.
Yeah. So like, how can I like maybe get like in general, like in American like universities, how can I maybe get a TA position? Is that maybe I need to like study really hard in this course so that maybe like next term the professors will choose me based on my GPA, or like how should I maybe like send an email to them or?
But I would say emailing the professors is definitely something that I did. So in my first quarter, I didn't do a teaching assistantship because we weren't allowed to, we weren't eligible. We had to sort of take a course to become eligible to become a teaching assistant. And I think that worked out for the best because I had a lot on my plate at that point. I was looking for internships, and I was also relatively new to the States, so still getting acclimated to how things work here. But no, as soon as my first quarter was over, I started emailing the professors, and I was always on the lookout for openings in teaching assistantship or research assistantship. And as soon as I saw an opening, I would immediately send an email. I remember one evening, I think I sat down and sent out like
10 or 20
to 30 emails, right? I mean, I had a template, and I would just then replace whatever the professor's name and the content, and just send it out. So that strategy definitely worked because I got a few responses back, and one of them worked out. So but I would say it was relatively easier for a lot of folks to secure a teaching assistantship, right? Because the batch size was not that big. That is definitely not the case in every school. At least from what I've seen, if the batch size is too big, then obviously there will be a lot of competition, and it might be difficult, right? But emailing helps.
Okay. So I guess like maybe like based on what I heard, it's one of the key like to secure the position is that we proactively like maybe talking to those persons and like to maybe like share with them our background and in terms of what skills or what knowledge we have, so that the professors might like pick us instead of others. I feel like that's like proactively doing something is really a good strategy. Not only like in say like TA positions but also like other opportunities of that.
Also when you're emailing out, I think it's good to highlight the reason why they should hire you as a teaching assistant, right? So if you can whatever, right, put something there or attach your resume and then put some content there which is like tailor-made to that position. And
so like you are saying like by attaching your resume, as professors can like check so thoroughly in terms of your background, and they can like know your better.
I mean, because if they have a lot of people who are applying for that position, then it's again like a job interview, right? Like they would want to select the best, and in many cases they also have this interview, right, where they will ask people to interview, and based on that they'll select. So it's good to like put stuff there which will make them think that you are well suited for the position.
I feel like that's a smart strategy. Being admitted in American universities is kind of like black box, where we don't like actually know how we like in the rankings like system, which we are in top rank or stuff like that. But how do you think which part like you stand out in the application? So because I feel like the CS program in UCLA is one of the prestigious program in the US. So like what part do you think you stand out among other like applicants?
So I think I'm going to give a very cliched answer, but it's important to cover the basics, right, and make sure that you have a good score in your undergrad, you have a good score in your GRE, in your TOEFL exams. Put in a lot of effort in your statement of purpose. I think I was very particular about that. I put in a lot of effort to make sure that I write it by myself and got it thoroughly reviewed by a lot of people, so as to make sure that it's.
So can I maybe
yeah.
Can I maybe know how many drafts you have done before you finally submitted your statement of purpose?
Maybe 7, 8. I don't remember.
7, 8. Oh, nice.
But yeah, I did edit it a lot of times. I would once I would send it out, people would give their feedback, so I would incorporate it, and then I would send it to someone else who would have additional stuff. So I thoroughly got it reviewed. Because I feel like that is very important. Again, you don't know what these people are looking for.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you said, it's a black box to us, and there is only so much that you can control. Right. So
true.
The only thing that you can do is make sure that you are very thorough and give in your best, and then hopefully they'll like you, right? That's the hope.
Yeah, I feel like your strategy of maybe finding other people to look your either personal statement or the resume is a really good strategy, because I don't know, since going in India, but in China we have see some people or some students who want to delegate this duties to some third parties, so that say some of educational institutions, and those the teachers or professors will modify or polish the statement purpose for them, so that they don't need to bother that. But I feel like one of not the good part about this is that after say our resume or personal statement being modified by those people, we don't actually know the exact content they are writing, nor they know the home background of us, so that will may not be a good strategy when we apply for the university. So that's the part that we are here. From your experience, that's really a good experience or a strategy you use.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I think we have that in India too, where you would give it out to someone and they'll write it for you. But then is not something that again I would also recommend, because that's not very personal, right? They also have a template, and sure, you can give them your information and they'll incorporate it in the statement of purpose or whatever resume. But it has to be you who's writing it. And now with Bard and ChatGPT, I think people are going to use that, I'm very sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's still good to write it on your own and then get it reviewed multiple times, right? Because I think that forms a very important part of your of your application.
Yeah.
So it's obviously important to have a good score in undergrad and have a good GRE and TOEFL score, but then at the same time, statement of purpose is also equally important, if not.
True. So speaking of which, we have talked about a lot of topics, speaking from say your work experience to your life experience in the UCLA, and your strategies to apply for the graduate programs. So if I was just wondering if you can do the time travel and maybe come back to 3 or 5 years ago, you met yourself 3 or 5 years ago, what will what advice you will give yourself, what kind of advice or?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I was too stressed during my masters. When I came here to the States and I was doing my masters, I was very stressed. And I think it's in hindsight, it's easier for me to say that, I shouldn't have been stressed. But you feel the pressure, right? As an international student, I think we don't have the luxury of time, right? So after you're done with your graduation, you have 2 or 3 months on your F1 visa, to sort of secure a job. So I think that made me very nervous and very stressed, which ultimately impacted me in a negative way, right? Because even though I was, for example, during interviews, right, even though I was prepared and felt like I could have cracked those interviews, I couldn't. Not because I didn't know how to, solve the question that they were asking, but because I was nervous and panicked, right? I feel like these people are not only looking for the solution, but they're also
communication,
looking for how you communicate, how you react, right? At least when I interview people, I am looking for that, right? I'm not necessarily interested in the solution. That's like a cherry on the cake, right? If you get it, great. But then you also need to sort of logically follow the interviewer's question, and if they want you to steer in a particular direction, you should be able to, right? You should
so are you feeling nervous when you interview other people?
Not really, but I think when I interview other people, I empathize which is I think good, but you shouldn't then let it skew your sort of feedback for the interviewee, because you have to be honest about the feedback
Sure,
as well.
sure.
But I definitely don't feel nervous anymore.
Oh.
That was really fast, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So I feel like being stressed is, I would say, a common like situations for people like either studying like domestically or like internationally, because like we have just like you said, limited time, and we need to like, so for people like maybe like you have maybe the major for your bachelor's is related to computer science stuff, but there are also like maybe other people like me whose major is not like I mean like my major at the time was the mechanics stuff like in my bachelor's. So like people like us, we need to like learn a lot of stuff in graduate, like maybe like just 1.5 years or maybe like 2 years, and we need to learn a lot of the courses, do a lot of labs. And I would say compared to different courses, computer science, this category is requiring a lot of time for us to like debug, because like you don't actually know your progress until like you make the program wrong. Otherwise, like we were always like debugging stuff, and then like we don't know how many times we devoted to that until that like particular checkpoint where we know, oh, this program is wrong, the test passed, and we are good, and we can go to sleep. Cool. I guess today that's all the topics we wanna cover, and thank you so much for taking your time with me.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Vencha.